Are you embarking on a journey to build out your suit wardrobe? Here are 10 things to avoid when embarking on that journey. 1. Not having a plan. 2. Opting for variety over seasonality. 3. Buying too many suits too soon. 4. Fit. Fit is king. 5. Not resting your garment sufficiently. 6. Lack of upkeep. 7. Going for too many features when buying bespoke. 8. Going for extreme features when buying bespoke. 9. Not tailoring your suits when buying ready to wear. And finally, 10. Failing to keep a wardrobe inventory. Welcome to Ask Oki. Today we're going to talk about 10 key things to avoid when building a suit wardrobe. Now, let's get into the details. 1. Starting from the top, not having a plan. You must have a plan and a budget in place. Write it down and stick to it. Now, for those of you who have watched my prior YouTube videos from several years ago, you will recall a particular video where I went into detail about how I went about building my suit wardrobe. I started with Excel spreadsheets, very detailed, where I mapped out essentially a very articulate roadmap of how I intended to pursue this process. Now, I'm a banker by training, and it is in my DNA to be so analytical. However, you do not need to go to such extremes. You could keep a simple catalog or a notebook where you note down exactly how you're going to pursue your suit building exercise. Second, opting for variety over seasonality. Now, here's another trap that most of us fall into. You get into this suit, shall I say, vocation, and it's exciting. You're learning so much, you're absorbing so much knowledge and information, and you want to express all of it at once. And so there is the impulse to buy every suit in every color you can lay your eyes or your hands on. Obviously, most of us start with our blues and our grays. And the idea when you're still a novice, quote unquote, is you have a blue suit, you have a gray suit, it doesn't matter in what fabric, and you think, well, what other color should I buy? Okay, so you buy your brown, you buy your purple and green, and then essentially you're all over the place, including pattern suits. I'd say stop right there. The proper way, in my opinion, to do this is to stick with the staples. Stick with the blues and the grays. If you're essentially a suit-wearing person or sort of a formal business suit-wearing person, you stick with the blues and the grays. And then what you do is within the blues and the grays, you try to cover all the seasons. For instance, we're currently in the summer season. I'm wearing a tropical wool 8-9 ounce wool suit. It's about 8-9 ounces. It's a tropical suit, very light, very comfortable in the summer. I would want to do the same thing for the fall, for the winter, and for the spring. Essentially cover all 4 seasons, assuming, of course, you live in the northern hemisphere. And so for the fall, you might want to look at something in the mid-weight range, meaning 12 to 14 ounces, in worsted wool, of course. And so you cover the basics in worsted wool, sort of your blues and your grays. If you're sort of the more casual leaning type and you're more inclined to the browns and the earth tones, you could do the same similarly, but cover all the seasons. So 12 to 14 ounces for the fall. For the winter, you can get into your flannels and your tweeds and so on and so forth. And so the idea is for every color, or for your primary colors, meaning blue and grays, for the more formal spectrum or for the more formal folk, you want to cover those 4 seasons, at least 3 seasons, before you start expanding your purview into other colors or even patterns. Very, very, very critical. 3, buying too many suits too soon. Now, leaning on number 2 again, there is the temptation to go out there and buy as many suits, essentially express your imagination, everything you've learned, all that you've learned from the blogs, everything you've learned from Ask Oki, of course, from my YouTube channel, from my Instagram, from my blogs. You want to essentially test your knowledge. And so you're excited and you're out there essentially grabbing anything and everything that essentially meets your imagination. And I'd say that's a mistake. You want to slow down. Why? Because as you move along this curve or this learning curve, you're going to learn a lot of things about yourself. You're going to learn about your taste, certainly. Even more importantly, you're going to learn about what suits you, what cuts suit you, what lapel size suits you, what shoulder construction or shoulder design suits your body type or your frame, what length of jacket suits you, and so on and so forth. And so when you work your way into the process slowly, it allows you to edit these things as you go along. Whereas if you went and you bought a lot of suits right away in one go, that's a huge investment. That's a massive investment. And then if you have to undo that, it will cost you just as much to fix those in your later suits. And this is a mistake I am guilty of as well. And I'm sure many of you watching this segment are also guilty of the same. So for those of you starting out, I say, take your time, start slowly, learn about your idiosyncrasies, learn about your own specific taste, learn about your body and what suits you in your first few garments. And then when you have a good grasp on all these things, then you can go ahead and expand your wardrobe to your imagination. 4, fit. Fit, of course, is king. This is what we talk about. This is all we talk about on this channel. Fit, fit, fit. The primary thing about a suit is that it should be comfortable. There are those who even suggest that your suit should fit like a pair of pajamas, but I think that's a stretch. That's a bit hyperbolic. But it should be comfortable. It should be functional. You should be able to perform your daily functions in your suit. After all, that's why you wear it. You wear it to go on business meetings, to go to the office. You need to be able to function in your suit. And so it should be of primary concern. It should be comfortable. It should drape properly. It should stay away from your body. It shouldn't fit too close to your body. It shouldn't be too restrictive, so to speak. And so comfort above all, and then drape. The clothes need to stand away from your body. They need to have a character of their own. They need to express themselves. So fit is very critical when it comes to building out your suit wardrobe. 5, not resting your garment. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one because not everyone has the luxury of having an expansive wardrobe. There are those who might be able to keep 2 suits, 3 suits, 4 suits in their wardrobe. And that's fine. However, the point is that you need to rest your suits for at least 24 hours between wears. In other words, you shouldn't wear the same suit 2 days in a row. You should take your suit off at the end of the day, hang it up, brush it down, and let it air out and give it 24 hours before you wear it again. And so for your average office suit wearing type, you ought to have at a minimum 3 to 5 suits for a work week. And that allows you to rotate them sufficiently through the week. For those of you, of course, who are more advanced, you could have a lot more, but this video specifically is for beginners to intermediate. So I'd say 3 suits if you're a working man who wears a suit every day. 3 suits will get you through a typical week. wearing them intermittently every other day, and hanging them out to dry and letting them rest. 6, lack of upkeep. There is the old saw that a stitch in time saves 9. And so very often you might notice a little hole in your suit or your garment. It's important to have it mended right away, because a little hole all of a sudden could become a gaping hole and then renders the suit essentially useless. So you want to catch these things when they're still very little, a missing button and so on and so forth. Nothing as slovenly as wearing a suit with, say, for instance, a missing button. It could be the best tailored suit in the world. It could be the most expensive suit. If it's not kept well, it just looks very tawdry. Pressing. You ought to steam your suits at least monthly. I didn't say dry clean. I do not recommend dry cleaning your suits unless it is stained, or unless it is absolutely necessary. Dry cleaning, or the chemicals and agents used in dry cleaning, are typically not very kind to wool or any other sort of natural fabric or material at all. So I'd say minimize the dry cleaning, but you have to steam your clothes at least once a month. Take it to a very competent dry cleaner who can steam your clothes, or if you're capable, there are those of us who are able to do it at home if you know how to do it. For instance, you certainly don't want to put the iron on the surface of your cloth, because it damages it. So you need to put like a little light cloth on top of it before you place the iron. But that's a subject for another day. The idea is you should steam your suits at least once a month, at a minimum once a month. Once every fortnight if you can afford it. 7. Now, this is aimed more out to those of you who are slightly more advanced, are already into the bespoke journey. Going for too many features when buying bespoke. I cannot tell you how many times I've counseled both clients and friends to avoid this mistake. Again, this goes back to my earlier point about just learning and drinking from this well and water hose of men's dress and bespoke, to be specific, because there's so much to learn and you spend so much time acquiring all this knowledge, and you just want to express all of that knowledge in a single garment. No, stop. Going for too many bells and whistles on your bespoke jacket just to show the world, hey, look, this is a bespoke garment, is the wrong approach. When you have your clothes made bespoke, there are two things to bear in mind or to focus on. One is the cut and the fit. Keep everything else simple. There is a saying, I believe it was Yves Saint Laurent who said, elegance is never far from simplicity. And so it is with the bespoke as well. Keep it simple, focus on the cut and the fit, and leave everything else classic. What this does is that it allows the suit to age well. If you're going to invest a significant sum in making a bespoke suit today, you want to be able to enjoy or benefit from that investment 10 years, 20 years down the line. And so when you keep the garment simple and timeless, it allows the garment to age well, such that you can get the most out of the suit. Number 8, going for extreme features when buying bespoke. Again, a continuation of number 7. Avoid extremes, such as extremely thin lapels or extremely large lapels, or anything that is trending, any trending features, short jackets, tight pants, anything one might consider a trending feature, you're best served to stay away from. Stay with classic proportions, because they will serve you yet again in the long run. You're making a significant investment and you want to be able to reap the benefits of that investment 10, 15, 20 years down the line. And for those of you who have sons, You might even want to pass those garments on as an heirloom to your offspring or to your sons, and so on and so forth. Avoid things like colorful stitching, extravagant hand stitching. I am very, very familiar with Neapolitan tailoring, especially, and they're very famous for their handwork. And there are those who want to sort of show off their garments. Oh, well, look, I'm wearing a bespoke garment. You see all this pick stitching. Sometimes it can just look crass, frankly. It's nice to have, but I've seen exhibits or examples where they just sort of look crass. And so you want to keep it very subtle. A garment could be hand-stitched, yet it could be simply stitched. It doesn't have to have extravagant embroidery or pick stitching on it. So just keep it very simple. Again, focus on the cut and the fit of the garment. 9, this is aimed at those who, shall we say, either prefer ready-to-wear or aren't yet ready for the bespoke journey. Now, every ready-to-wear suit is what it says, ready-to-wear. In other words, it's made for everybody and no one in particular. And so it is very rare that you would walk into a store and try on a suit and it suits you specifically because it hasn't been made for you. Again, we go back to fit being king. No ready-to-wear garment is going to fit you perfectly. And so you have to get to know your alterations guy, your alterations tailor very well. You ought to be on good terms with him or her. You have to know them as well as you know your physician or your doctor. Because you can take an average looking suit and with a good alterations tailor, you can essentially get it to look like something close to bespoke. I mean, they're to a certain degree or to a reasonable degree. But the point being that when you're buying a ready-to-wear garment, this is a garment that is not made for you or anyone for that matter. And so the first thing you do once you leave the store is you take it to your alterations tailor, have it tailored to suit you to the extent possible, to the greatest or to the best extent possible. Last, and certainly not the least, failing to keep a wardrobe inventory or catalog. Now, this is extremely critical, and this goes back to the first point of planning your wardrobe. Essentially, number 1 and number 10 are two sides of the same coin. You have to know, you must know what you own intimately. You must keep a journal. For those of us who are a bit, let us say, anal about these things, I keep a spreadsheet. Actually, not one, several spreadsheets. You do not have to go to such extremes, but you need to have a journal or a notebook or some kind of a catalog where you're able to capture your wardrobe journey. You jot down everything you bought, what it cost. You can go to extreme details such as defining the specific garment that allows you to catalog it. It helps you to think and to plan and to figure out where the holes are in your wardrobe or where you might have, let's say, too much of one specific type of a garment. Now, this leads us to the Ask Oki Genie. We've done a segment on Genie a few months ago, which is our software-driven inventory management system or wardrobe inventory management system. It is essentially a system that was created or that was birthed based on sort of my own experiences when I was building my wardrobe. I did a lot of those things mechanically, building spreadsheets using Microsoft Excel and so on and so forth, but I found it very cumbersome. And so we thought about building a platform, some sort of a system that allows the average person to accomplish the same thing as seamlessly as possible without having a prior knowledge of Excel programming and so on and so forth. And so with that, when you have a moment, perhaps this is an incentive for you to visit our portal, our website, www.askoki.com, and try out the Genie tool. It is a ready-made software-driven wardrobe management tool where you can actually track everything you buy on your wardrobe, and it gives you pictorially a vision or a report of where you are at every point in your wardrobe journey. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will bring this segment to an end. We've talked about 10 things to avoid when building your wardrobe. We went into some detail about how to address those things or how to avoid falling into those traps. And finally, we talked about our wardrobe tool genie, a little plug here for you to take a moment and go to our portal and experience this tool. It is something truly magnificent and essentially would be a great crutch to have along with this video, of course, when you're starting out your suit building exercise. So with that, I thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Ask Oki. Thank you.